Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet with Tajik President Emomali Rahman in Moscow on May 8. Two issues will be on the agenda: military cooperation in Central Asia and the situation on the border with Kyrgyzstan. At the same time, Rahman will return home only after taking part in the victory parade. Probably, he will be the only foreign leader who will take part in the event, because the head of Kyrgyzstan, Sadir Japarov, will not go to Moscow. The meeting with Rahman was planned before the fighting broke out between Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. Arkady Dubnov, an expert on Central Asian countries, told MK. This was agreed in the framework of negotiations on military technical cooperation between Moscow and Dushanbe against the background of the so-called Afghan threats. Apparently, a serious strengthening of the military presence in Tajikistan is expected, and Rahman is no less interested in this than Moscow. In particular, this is due to the inevitable transit of power in the republic. In this regard, the agreements should be discussed at the highest level. Well, the negotiations will be timed to May 9. Accordingly, Rahman began to prepare for the trip long before he announced it. He began to undergo quarantine and so on. In turn, the president of Kyrgyzstan, Sadir Japarov, will not have time to go through these procedures, even if he really wants to. I completely exclude the appearance of Russian peacekeepers in the region, Dubnov says. First of all, there is simply no place to place them, because the border or any other line of demarcation does not exist there. And political mediation is possible. Let me remind you that the civil war in Tajikistan ended thanks to the diplomatic efforts of Russia and Iran. At the same time, Moscow put serious pressure on Rahman, who was then called Rachmanov, and Tehran, on the opposition. In addition, in May, the meeting of the president of Kazakhstan Kassym-Jomart Tokayev with Rahman should take place, which, apparently, should coincide with the visit of Japarov. Well, the president of Uzbekistan Shavkat Mirziyoyev will play a very serious mediation role. Meanwhile, Sadir Japarov promised that all problems with the border will be solved by the end of 2021. Until May 9, they are going to agree on 112 kilometers. At the same time, the total length of the border between the two states is 984 kilometers, of which only about half are established. The most acute issue is in the Laylak district of the Batken region of Kyrgyzstan, where several villages are part of Kyrgyzstan according to Yandex Maps, and part of Tajikistan according to Google Maps, and in the area of the Tajik enclave of Vorik on the territory of the same Batken region. From April 28 to May 1, there were fierce battles, the victims of which were several dozen people, several hundred were injured. At the same time, the villages in the Laylak district were almost completely destroyed, but Japarov has already signed a decree on their restoration. Dubnov does not believe that in a year Japarov will be able to resolve the territorial conflict with Tajikistan. This is from the desire to be known as the main decider of Central Asia. Earlier in the same vein, the head of the State Security Committee Kamchi Bektashev said, who said so much that it seriously hurt. Today, we need to think about how to freeze the situation and guarantee security in the region. In particular, it is necessary to stop the expulsion of Kyrgyz people in places of their compact residence in Tajikistan, because in response, the same actions may begin in Kyrgyzstan. Earlier, Kyrgyz media reported that the Tajik authorities are catching local Kyrgyz with dual citizenship and forcing them to either give up their Kyrgyz passport, or, if they do not want to do so, leave the country. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kyrgyzstan confirmed such cases, but the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Tajikistan refutes this. Kyrgyz political analyst Denis Berdakov is more optimistic about the imminent settlement of the conflict. First of all, Bishkek is not worried about Rahman's arrival in Moscow, because relations between Russia and Kyrgyzstan are much closer than those between Russia and Tajikistan. We are not only a member of the CSTO, but also of the EEU, and the presidents even launch joint ventures. Secondly, now Rahman will try to enlist Russian support to justify his aggression, because he understands that he can run into very serious international lawsuits. And it's not about who attacked whom, because the conflict is complex, long and everyone has their own position in it. There are 3 episodes: a mortar attack on peaceful settlements, the shooting of an ambulance, and the death of a girl. Each of them violates the Geneva Convention, Berdakov said. But Kyrgyzstan can abandon international lawsuits if Tajikistan agrees to compromise. Bishkek understands that in order to overcome the economic crisis, it is necessary, among other things, to establish state borders. Then large investments will go to the country, including the construction of the Kyrgyz-Chinese Railway, which is billions of dollars. For example, Bishkek agrees to the following compromise. The water intake is Kyrgyz, but it is shared, and the road from Isfar to Vorik is open for free travel for local citizens of Tajikistan. Parviz Mullajanov, a political scientist from Dushanbe, also agreed with the MK correspondent that it is possible to reach an agreement in a year, and even described the scheme. Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan simply have no other choice but to negotiate. It would be good if Japarov and Rachman first met in Moscow with Putin, because for both sides, Russia's position is very important. They will also discuss the extent to which Russia will be involved in the settlement of the conflict. Then they will meet with Tokayev, where they will come with a worked-out agenda. It is important for Tajikistan to resolve the issue of access to Vorik. In addition, the construction of several reservoirs is an urgent issue, because of which Tajikistan may not have enough water. At the same time, there is the problem of lands that are actually under the control of the Kyrgyz border guards, although no one has been engaged in the demarcation and delimitation of the border there. This problem is particularly acute around the Vorik enclave.